expertise that can help them with any decision. As we're getting ready to close out a year and start another, please give our city manager fresh vision as he prepares to give the State of the City address tomorrow. We know that unity brings progress, progress brings fruit. Please help all those who make up the leadership strive to keep the unity so blessings will flow. So we look to you for protection upon our first responders, workers, and staff, and may your favor be upon our city. May your love be seen in our city through servant leadership. In the name of your Son, the best example of a servant leader. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
That's great.
Thanks, Pastor.
Roll call.
Ford,
Here.
Udi,
Here.
Parks,
Here.
Gillespie,
Here.
Wimpy.
Here. Please stand with me and join Councilor Parks for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Salute. Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Roll call. Motion passes. Item 7, public hearings, appeals, presentation, recognitions, and awards. There are none. Item 8, citizens' opportunity to address the council. Looks like we have one. I believe it's Stephanie Williams. Stephanie here? Yes, ma'am. Just state your name and you have 3 minutes.
Stephanie Williams. So a little late to the dance here, but just wanted to neighborhood gathering and kind of state our opposition to the Bells Amusement Park. The noise alone. Been a tax-paying citizen and by Broken Arrow person my entire life. Graduated from Broken Arrow High School. Went on to Oklahoma State University. Graduated, but always came back here. Live in the house that my parents left me when they passed away. So same house I was raised in, same house I went to high school with, I believe, this gentleman on my left here. So, all that to say that lots of reasons I'm not fully prepared for much this evening, but we'll become a little bit more involved as we progress to find out and understand, but definitely opposed to the park in several different instances. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll just reiterate, the city has not taken any motion or we haven't voted on anything, and it's not come before us. So
That's, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Completely, from my understanding, kind of in through the back door, but they suggested that I show up here tonight, so here I am.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item 9A, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of other action regarding PUD 328 and BAZ 2099, Buff Creek, 224 acres, southeast corner of Kenosha Street and 37th Street. Larry Curtis.
Mayor, Council, Larry Curtis, Community Development Director. Plan Unit Development PUD 328 involves approximately 224.63 acre parcel located on the southwest corner of Kenosha and 37th Street. With PUD 238, applicant is proposing a mixed single-family and commercial development. Broken into 4 development areas, BAZ 2099 is a request to change the underlying zoning from agricultural to RS3 residential single family and RS4 residential single family and RD duplex and CH commercial heavy, and with a PUD overlay of PUD 328. Access to the proposed residential property is provided through 2 main access points, one located along Kenosha, the other one located along 37th Street. In addition, there are 4 existing substreets into the existing neighborhood of Angus Acres. However, due to traffic concerns that were presented by neighbors, only 2 of these substreets will be provided access and circulation post-development. Those located along Kilby Drive, and then the additional access point to the north near the existing post office. Zoning, just to let council know, a zoning petition was filed with the city clerk's office prior to the public hearing item that came before the Planning Commission. In their meeting on November 18th, 2021, the Planning Commission recommended approval by a vote of 3 to 2 of PUD 328 and BAZ 299 per staff recommendation, while adding an additional consideration and requirement that RS3 size lots be required along the abutting rear yard of the lots on the east side of Kilby Drive in Development Area C. Four neighboring residents spoke in opposition and one wished to state their opposition while not speaking. The concerns that were raised by the residents were including to wildlife, traffic, crime, density, and concern of changing neighborhood character. Staff recommends the approval of BAZ 328, BAZ 2099 and PUD 238 per Planning Commission and staff recommendations. And I am here to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, as we look at this, Area A is
Those are the underlying zoning districts.
A
yes.
is going to be commercial, correct?
Correct.
right. That's what I was going to make sure that.
Updated PUD, number 5. And keep scrolling down. Keep scrolling. Down. Keep going.
It's in there. It's about halfway down.
Yeah. Keep going. Keep going. There you go. So you're right there. So yes, the development area A is the commercial portion of it. The underlying zoning is what's being requested in the previous parcels that you saw previously.
Okay. Okay. My question is that notice that there's not a point of ingress and egress there. That's to be decided later on. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Is there a number of points of ingress and egress?
As long as it meets the underlying meeting the zoning code requirement, which requires a separation of 250 feet from each of those access points along Kenosha and along 37th Street. It is limited on number of access points. And so some of that development along the backside, there will be commercial collector streets that will be created for those back parcels in the future will need to be created as part of that. And then they will be limited on the number of curb cuts that they'll be allowed along 37th and Kenosha. And
there also will not be any future, as far as we know now, future points of ingress and egress for this residential to go through that to get to 71st Street or 209th.
Correct. The only two that are proposed as part of this PUD are the one located, the main access points, I should state, the one on 37th Street, they're on the east side of the track, and on the north side, they're off Kenosha. There are 2 additional access points onto Kirby and onto Mockingbird Lane. Those are the 2 additional access points that they would be having access to. Those were pre-existing access points that were provided when the platting of Angus Acres 2 was done many years ago. We did, in the first meeting in November, the residents had concerns about the developments that connecting there onto Sydney Avenue. And then an additional access point there off of Kilby Drive. Working with the developer, we were able to remove the utilization of those access points where the city has purchased right of way there onto 23rd Street. That is where they'll be connecting onto, and Sydney Avenue will also be merging into that to connect onto 23rd. And then the access point there now off of Mockingbird Lane, and then connecting there to Kilby Drive.
Okay. And then the area D is duplex.
Duplexes. It is restricted to single family or duplexes.
Okay. And area B and C, the difference between those two?
The difference between those two is that area B is going to be RS3 type zoning, so 60-foot wide lots, where area C is 50-foot wide lots or RS4, except for the ones that are abutting next to Angus Acres, and those will be required to be a minimum of 60 feet wide, so AKA being the RS3 zoning requirements.
Okay. And then there would not be any future, there's one stub street I see to the south, so there'll be a future stub into whatever develops there. Is that correct?
That is correct. If those goes to develop out their property or sell to a developer in the future, the connection would be made available as per our zoning ordinance now to have a connection at that point.
Will, or has it been done to determine how the stub street or the access points off of Kenosha, what that will do to traffic? Because that's a very busy road and making a left turn out of there can't be fun.
Correct. And during the engineering process, if there are over 100 impacts to be, which this most likely will meet that criteria, is that there would be an engineering assessment done, a study of traffic to see how that has an impact.
And that may necessitate decel lanes or other traffic control devices,
Correct.
which would be at the builder's expense,
Correct.
or developer, I should say.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
The blue arrow that, I mean,
51 coming onto the Broken Arrow Expressway. So the arrow should be pointing the other direction.
Yeah, I was gonna
okay,
say that.
that's what I
you are
meant. Okay, I was
correct.
like, are we
Yeah.
putting
Yeah.
in
Arrow
a
should be the
service
other way.
road? I was
That
very
would be
confused. I'm
unique.
like, don't go that way.
It's
Yeah.
contrary to
Yeah.
a hurricane.
Okay. So is the development area C,
Mhm.
I know there was some discussion at Planning Commission about those, and that's why the change,
Correct.
but has that been redone
It's
to
not,
indicate the
it's
size?
not reflected in the image here. It is
Okay.
reflected in the text of the document.
Okay,
And we made sure that the applicant provided a revised PUD that is a part of this packet that does provide that text language in there that says that those lots must be RS3 60-foot wide lots.
So in a plan, the higher density is closer to the major highway,
Correct.
and it becomes lower density as it goes back into.
Correct. I mean, the comprehensive plan for this area is level 3 and level 6. And so level 3, where all this development is happening, does encourage higher density throughout the entire development. So that would be RS4, single family, duplexes, multifamily development, all those lines, all those things. With the underlying zoning in this PUD, it locks it down to just single family and duplex.
How long has that been the comprehensive plan for this property?
This has been in the comprehensive plan since 2019.
Since when?
2019, there
What-
was a change in 2019 from the 1997 plan. The 1997 plan, basically where area C, you draw a line north and south, everything west of that was level 3, everything east of that was level 6 and level 4. And so in the update of the comprehensive plan in 2019, much more of that became level 3 and more commercial and less commercial
Less
came out of
commercial.
that.
So it could be more commercial under the old
Yes, it
comprehensive
could have
plan.
been a very large commercial district. And in this instance, it reduced the commercial capability of that district way down to residential.
And that was after the full hearing process we had
Yes.
in 2019.
Yes, we put out public information, everything like that. And yes.
For people who buy land, relying on things, I want to understand
Right.
how we got where we're at and what that reflects.
Absolutely.
In the school, we've spoken to the school.
Yes, I have reached out to the school and did ask them about their thoughts on this development. They did not have any negative things to say, nor any positive, but they did not have any comments on the project.
What is Angus Acres itself? Is it a level 3?
Angus Acres is, you had to ask.
Sorry.
I think we left it as level 1, just keeping the character and the nature of the existing subdivision. So that
Large
way,
lots.
if there was any future development, there is a portion in there, as some of the citizens in here may remember, that a couple of years ago, there is a portion of the land that is level 4 that abuts Kenosha, and that does abut a portion of 23rd Street. And there was a request for a zoning change that eventually got denied just because the neighborhood was not ready to go that direction. And so seeing that and understanding that, the existing lots in there, I believe, are underneath level 1 of the comp plan.
I'm looking at it.
I mean, those
I
are
think it's level 2.
Or level 2.
those are
Yeah.
large lots in there.
They are large lots. The Angus Acres was platted many, many years ago, I believe in the late 50s in Wagner County, was eventually annexed into the city of Broken Arrow.
Yeah, I remember the discussion a few years back about there were some lots that they were wanting to. rezone commercial, if I remember right.
That is correct. They did.
How many houses back up or in Angus Acres that back up to Area C? Because it looks like there's not that many houses. They must have huge like acreage.
Well,
They are
They
good.
do.
I drove by today. They are
Yeah.
pretty good sized
Yeah,
ones.
those are big lots.
Angus Acres 2 actually is smaller lot. Angus Acres 1 has large lots. Angus Acre 2, which is along Sydney Avenue and along Kilby Drive,
Mhm.
are actually smaller lots. I believe that they're averaging around the 70-foot wide lots, but there's a lot of empty lots in there that I believe have been purchased recently. And I've heard from the developer, but I'll leave the applicant answer that question. But the lots that abut this residential are more 70 to 80-foot wide lots, where the lots that are more interior along Angus and Archdale are the larger estate lots that are there.
One question then, the ones that it's going to be, the area B, the larger lots, but if you go back to the ones that abut the Angus Acres, they're going to be the larger lots also on the
Yeah,
west side of this development.
correct. The west side lots that Mockingbird Lane will continue down essentially. So the west side of Mockingbird Lane will be RS3 and the east side can be RS4.
Will that stay down the 3 all the way to the end of Angus Acres, or all the way to the end of that, where that street
It's
turns back there?
essentially all the way down to where the green area is,
Uh-huh.
or the green patches.
Then on down?
So it'll be 60 lots of 60 feet width as opposed to 50 feet width.
Correct.
I'd like to hear, I'm ready to hear from the applicant or the people who want to speak.
Absolutely.
Sure, if anybody else is.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Eric Enyart. I'm with Tanner Consulting, 5323 South Lewis Avenue in Tulsa. We prepared the PUD and rezoning application on behalf of the current owner and also our client who's interested in the residential portion of the development. My colleague Larry did a great job of explaining and answering a lot of questions that you have. We are in agreement with the recommendation of staff and the Planning Commission for approval. We've had 2 public hearings. We got the input from those, and we have put the design changes into this current draft that you have in front of you. We did agree to increasing the width of the lots where they abut the east side of Angus Acres Second. Another unique feature is that we do have a collector / frontage road that will now connect more directly to 23rd, the arterial. That's going to put a lot more traffic through our subdivision and take that out from the existing neighborhood. We had to redesign that small area. But I believe that the product that you have in front of you today is a much improved product by the process of going through the multiple hearings and working with staff to refine the details of the development standards. If you have any questions for me, I would be happy to answer those.
Anyone have any questions?
What are the things you say you've improved the product? So what are the things that you've heard from residents or whoever you've talked to that you've made?
I
Some
would say, in my
changes.
opinion, the biggest concern was access.
Mhm.
We put a site plan together initially that connected to all the stub streets. And in working with staff, we realized that there's a different way of doing that. There's a way that would still have plenty of access. We have direct connections for the residential portion on both arterials, a new direct connection over to the west arterial, and we're still providing plenty of access. And then, as mentioned earlier, the commercial development will have to access directly to the arterial streets. So traffic was the biggest change. Also, the lot size that we agreed to increase along the east side of Angus Acres Second. There were also some requests from staff to make sure that the trade center or office warehouse component had to comply with all the development standards of the zoning code proper. So we have put those in there for the commercial development area. There was also one other concern. Initially, we had the understanding the underlying zoning had to match the comp plan precisely, And working with staff, we realized that that's not the case. So we have reconfigured the underlying zoning patterns to match the development area boundaries precisely.
I know that you're not, you represent the owner who's focused on the residential aspects of this, but what is envisioned for the commercial? Is it retail? What is envisioned for that commercial aspect of it?
I believe that they would like to sell for whatever that would be appropriate for this location. I don't have any specifics at this time. But we did put the list of uses in there that are in accordance with the zoning ordinance, and also that are likely to be appropriate for this particular location. We do have frontage on the Muskogee Turnpike and Highway 51, but we don't have access. So that really limits the commercial potential of the site. Really, the most traffic, the most visibility, the most commercial viability is going to be along Kenosha and 37th Street. So that's why we configured it to stretch further down those arterials than the comp plan designation initially showed. I also should mention that Zach Holland is here. He has a presentation he would like to present to you to show you the product that he would like to develop in the residential portion of this development.
Okay.
That'd be nice.
He can come up.
Yeah. We hear from him.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Could you pull up that presentation, that HBT presentation? So good evening. Thank you. My name is Zach Holland. I'm with Premium Land, and Homes by Tabor is our partner home builder. So I just wanted to briefly talk to you about what type of project you can expect if this PUD is approved. So Homes by Tabor, we've been in business 20 years, over 20 years now. And one of the slogans we like to use is that we're Oklahoma's favorite builder. And we say that based on number of sales, buyer reviews, buyer testimonials, and awards that we've won in the community. So some of the more recent ones, 405 Magazine, Best Home Builder, Journal Record, Best Home Builder, and Better Business Bureau Torch Award winner. So when looking specifically at the single family lots and the different lot sizes, we would build 3 different series of homes. So on the 50-foot wide lots, we would build our white series, and these are 1,500 to 1,750 square feet. Some photos there of the interior, that outdoor fireplace that's standard on every single one of our homes. We have an in-house design team, and what they do all day, they think about how to use the different, the best materials and colors for our homes and what the latest design trends are. So here's an example of a front elevation on a white series home. And we use siding strictly for design purposes. It's not a cost savings measure. Add variety, add color. The side and rear elevations of all of our homes are 100% masonry, and many of our front elevations are 100% masonry as well. So when looking at the 60-foot wide lots, we would build our red series home, and these are 1,800 to 3,250 square feet. You can see the kitchen there, the master bath, cabinets to the ceiling, and the kitchen is standard. And here's a specification sheet for our red series home. And another slogan that we use is that we're proudly overbuilt. And what proudly overbuilt means is that we put more standard features in our homes than any other builder in this market. So everything you see there is standard. It's not an upgrade. Some of the highlights on there, in-ground storm shelter, that outdoor fireplace, you saw it earlier, the home air filtration system, smart home technology that includes a doorbell camera, and sprinkler system in the front and rear yard. So front elevation there, 3-car garage, that's standard on the red series. There's that outdoor living area, that outdoor fireplace. And then looking at the 65-foot wide lots and larger, we would build our top of the line, our black series home, 2,000 to 3,350 square feet, cathedral ceiling there, front elevation of a black series home. And then amenities. So amenities are extremely important to us in our communities. We have a lot of young families, a lot of downsizers, right-sizers. They want a place to bring the grandkids. So pool house, playground, basketball court, soccer field, those will all be the amenities that we'd be looking to build in this community. And then last, here's an example of an entryway that we're building in now. So for us, it's the whole package. It's the entry, landscaping, amenities, homes. We want a place that our buyers are proud to call home. We want a place that the community and the city can be proud of as well. And that's all I have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go ahead and bring up citizens. First, Christina Dadsick. I hate pronouncing these names, sorry.
It's Christine
Christine, sorry.
Dadsick. You're probably gonna see a whole new shade of purple or red. Something happening. Anyway, thank you for the time to speak to you all this evening. When I found out I was pregnant, I lived in an apartment at 71st and Memorial. I was overwhelmed with a sense of urgency to find somewhere with more space, but more importantly, somewhere that was more safe. About 2 months later, I had a contract in the home I live in now, which is Angus Acres. I never understood why people were so proud of Broken Arrow. I had lived in the Tulsa area for 21 years, and I just never understood it. Now being in Broken Arrow for almost 2.5 years, I get it.
Yep.
Like I get the pride of Broken Arrow. I really love it. Country-like living, gardening, spending more time in nature. These are all concepts of American life that people are really waking up to. Some people just don't want to live in the country. The type of living that people are becoming more attracted to is cultivated well in Broken Arrow, especially in our part of Broken Arrow. Larger lots in a more natural setting with close proximity to shopping and other conveniences is what draws people, I believe, to Broken Arrow in places like this. There's no development like the proposed development anywhere in Broken Arrow, and I believe that there's a really major reason for that. If this development or any development goes in like it, our intersection and our whole area of town is going to look a lot less like Broken Arrow and a lot more like 71st and Memorial. We all know duplexes tend to be rental properties. We also know rental properties are not kept up with like single-family owned homes. Over time, a high concentration of rental properties tend to produce higher levels of or higher crime rates and less desirable community standards. To put 164 residences in the form of duplexes in the backyards of 12 existing homeowners is really a disgrace, and in my opinion, it's a tragedy for those people that have been there for whether it's 3 months or 20, 30, 40 years. It seems like an inane concept to construct something so contrasting to what currently exists. Large lots, mature trees right in the middle of town, from County Line all the way east down Kenosha, this is what we see. This is what is more consistent with Broken Arrow, especially our area of Broken Arrow. There are excellent examples of local developers who have been here and are maintaining the Broken Arrow's integrity in a great way. Speaking on the trees, since the land to the east of us in Angus Acres are full of them, there's a movement happening across the United States, which if you haven't researched or haven't heard, you can research it. It's happening everywhere, where new developers are actually salvaging mature trees in their home developments. They've found that mature trees at this point are increasing property values up to 20% for new builds and for just selling property in general. I'm absolutely not against growth and development. I understand. I want people to experience Broken Arrow like I get to. But I implore you to please help Broken Arrow grow in a way that's consistent and healthy with what we have already. If we could keep Broken Arrow what it is, that would really be great.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Next, we have Philip Nichols.
Hello. Thanks for hearing me. Me and my wife moved in to a house off of Sydney in September. And let me back it up. I'm a respiratory therapist at a major hospital in town. And over the past year, it's been very chaotic. So we were looking for a house that was a little more private area, kind of a smaller area, and we found it. We love our neighborhood. We're very new to the area, but have been super impressed. Haven't even met our neighbors, all of them yet, so getting to see them now. But I'm definitely in opposition to this. We live off of Sydney, which is right by an access to where they will be putting the duplexes. And with all that traffic there, I'm concerned about that. I'm also a little concerned about once construction would take place, the highway noise. It's already present, but it will be very disruptive. it's a very quaint, charming neighborhood as it is. And I would hate to see it just changed entirely to something that I don't want, and that it sounds like my neighbors don't either. And it's just, I'm also a little concerned about property value as well, being recently bought into the neighborhood. What this would do to it, I'm not sure, but there is concern there. And I just love the neighborhood, and I would like to keep it safe and keep it as it is, or close to what it is. I understand as well that progress is important, and Broken Arrow is a desirable place to live because it's great. And I just want it to stay great. So thank you.
Thank you. Clark Frazier.
Hi, I don't really know where to begin. We're talking about zoning, and with zoning, there's Oklahoma statutes on zoning, and this seems to be completely opposite to what it should be. You're supposed to lessen congestion in traffic. This adds a lot more over to overcrowding of land, all the way down the list. This is kind of the opposite. 71st Street is a main artery, but it's not like you can go a couple blocks north or a couple blocks south and go through again. That's the main artery, and it's already pretty clogged. So 2,800 cars coming in and out added to that would be ridiculous. And I can't believe there hasn't been. Speaking of that, have we done it? Has there been assessment? And if that fails, is there environmental impact on this native land next to us that they're wanting to bulldoze and put cookie cutter houses in? I'm just really appalled at the whole thing. Let me see what else. The land there, as people have said, there's a charm to this older community, old trees, and the apartments and condos to the south there. If you look at the map, they're right on the BA. This is kind of Soviet style. It'll be, yes, they may be able to rent those, but the people there won't have a good quality of life. Also, all the trees that they knock down will make it a lot noisier for the rest of us and the rest of the community. And as far as the streets, we came into the last planning meeting. Kilby was an artery, but they rethought that and took it out. And tonight it's back in again. I don't think it's very well thought out. I think it's way too dense. The commercial part is very iffy. And if you can imagine all those little houses there, even if they change them from 50 to 60 feet wide, I can't hardly count that many behind 6 or 7 houses. Now, the access, I don't think will work. It doesn't look at all feasible. I could hardly get out from where the post office is as it is now. And you can imagine another 3,000 cars coming along there at the same time. The traffic study seems to me to be essential, and it hasn't been done. Also in the statutes, it talks about health and safety, quality of life should be in statutes on those statutes on zoning. We're not really seeing any improvement in there. I noticed the slide had all this open land, and it's not on the map though. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mayor, I have a question.
Sure.
For Kilby's not being used as an access point, is it? Or I thought it was Mockingbird and Sydney.
It's Mockingbird Lane that makes an L.
Uh-huh.
And so there is a connection onto Mockingbird Lane to the north, and then Mockingbird Lane to the west, that's next to Kilby. So that's,
Mockingbird runs east and west.
It also runs north and south, apparently.
yeah.
There's not a street there. It's Mockingbird Lane.
That's why
Yes.
because it's,
So that's where the connection, where you see the
It'll
L.
connect to the existing Kilby.
Yeah.
right, but it's not, okay. It's not an access point to the neighborhood per se. It just connects to
Right.
an access point. Okay.
So the blue line that's going on the south side of Mockingbird, the south part of Kilby, will not connect into the
That's inside
development.
Correct. That's just showing the traffic
Okay.
flow
Right.
for the entire
Okay.
area.
Well, that's it. And I can take you to a place in Dallas where Beltline intersects with Beltline. So
Yes.
apparently this is a place where Mockingbird intersects with Mockingbird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted clarity because
Mhm.
he seemed to be under the impression that it was, and what I was reading was inconsistent with that. So, okay. The other thing is, at least before we finish, if we could have an outline, because I asked about traffic studies, and I think there's a misconception as to the order of things that take place.
Sure.
And if you could speak on
Yeah,
that before we
absolutely.
finish our discussion.
In the state of Oklahoma, and communities that are statutory cities like Broken Arrow, the order of essentially the order of operations that we have for the city is that an application is submitted for zoning. So it is to say, is this area to have these uses? And so that is what's being requested. And so that's the reason why the city of Broken Arrow, as with all other cities, should have a comprehensive plan in place that gives what things should be, what uses would be permissible if a zoning request was to come forward. So the land use map is what we utilize in Broken Arrow, and it provides different zoning districts that are applicable to those areas. So level 3 allows for or suggests that duplexes, higher density housing, RS4, and multifamily would be should be built there, or those are zoning or zonings that would be recommended for approval in those areas. And then level 4 and level 6 are commercial areas, and so that's it's conducive to that. So if this was, in this instance, if this item was to be approved by council, the next step for the developer is that they will have to do a preliminary plat with conceptual utilities. And at that time, it goes to the planning commission, and only to the planning commission for them to review to say, is this meeting the requirements of the PUD and the underlying zoning that's been proposed? Then the developer will go back with their engineer and actually do a full study to show impact of transportation. They'll create engineering design plans that will show how all the utilities will lay out: water, sewer, electricity, cable TV, other utilities along those lines, and also most essentially a stormwater, is to ensure that it meets the requirements of no impact on our surrounding neighbors and property owners in those areas. So they'll have to provide all those items. They will have to go through our rigorous engineering design standards that were put in place back in 1999 and meet those requirements before it can go to planning commission. And planning commission will then look at it to see if it meets the requirements as set forth in the engineering design criteria, subdivision regulations, and the suggested approval under underlying zoning district. Then those items will come to city council for final approval to make sure that all those things have been met. Once those things have been met, then they can move forward with the construction of the development. Now, there are, just to clarify to the public, that there are items that an applicant can go through to prepare the site, and that's through an earth change permit and stormwater permit. But any actual construction of the site must have gone through those approval processes.
So the vote tonight, regardless of how it goes, if it were approved, then the next step, this is a conceptual drawing, it's not a finally approved.
Correct.
They're going to have to do, if necessary, the traffic studies, the hydrological studies, all of the necessary studies, and bring that back to us for final approval
Yes.
before anything was finalized. So to address that concern, regardless of how we vote tonight, if this moves forward in any way, they're going to have to do the things that you're concerned about to
Yes.
demonstrate to us that it meets proper, that it complies with the law and meets proper.
I would like to add one more thing. Listening to the citizen, the concern of environmental impact is that within the state of Oklahoma, an environmental impact is not required for residential or commercial development. It is required if there is land that is sensitive. Specifically, if you may recall, the property to the east of here for the industrial park was a sensitive area, and that did require a level 2 engineering environmental review and impact analysis before anything could go forward with that. Again, if there are environmental, for example, the Blue Stream there, that will probably require a 404 permit. That will require an analysis by the Corps of Engineers, and they will have to provide those analyses. But anything beyond what's required by the Corps or the Department of Environmental Quality or things along those lines. It's just those for Oklahoma that's not there. I know other states have a different approach associated with that, but that's how it is here.
Thank you, Mayor.
Alex, sounds, how do you say your last name? Okay, that wasn't gonna come out of my mouth. It's not what I read here, so.
Thank you guys for hearing us out, Mayor. Thank you guys.
Sure.
Really appreciate this time to be able to explain ourselves. So I live on 711 Kilby Drive. I was able to buy a house next to my parents' house, which is 803 Kilby Drive. They're also here. And we just love, the nature and the way our neighborhood is. We look at our backyards and we have multiple birds coming. We have cardinals, eagles, hawks, which are all federally and state protected birds. So basically, my whole reasoning for talking against this is this does not comply with the comprehensive plan because the zoning is different. So that's why they're applying to rezone it to make it in compliance with the comprehensive plan. But in the beginning, the developer was misrepresenting themselves, saying that it was all in compliance. Also, just a recent thing that I found out that the Bells Amusement Park, the partners that are working on that are B and Z Properties, which the owners of this property is BZ Properties, and it just makes me, it's kind of like they just take out the and is it the same company? Are these people affiliated with the Bells Amusement Park? Because and that company is out of California. And if we all know about Disneyland makes a lot of money on their rental properties around in their park. So I'm assuming this is something that could be connected to that development because the names are so similar. The company is B, Z, and B and Z Properties. I try to find any information on these companies. It's very difficult to dig up anything on that. I mainly, I would be really concerned about the traffic. Right now, when you try to exit on 71st, if I'm trying to turn left, today I waited about 5 minutes to turn left because it's nearly impossible. This will basically add, almost 1,000 cars to going in through our neighborhood. But when they're building, it's all going to be, concrete dust. It's all going to affect us. We have a lot of neighbors that are elderly, and it'll affect them in a very negative way. Also, this is a natural wetland that will be destroyed by this heavy commercial development. It's the groundwater will be completely destroyed for all the agricultural land that's around it. And also, I don't know if you know the facts, in the United States right now, over 200 acres of agricultural land is lost right now every day in the United States. And this is basically one of those cases. It's over 200 acres that is planning to be rezoned. So I'm asking you to please do not rezone this. Thank you.
Thank you. Craig Sherwin. Look, you don't have, I just saw, sorry. You don't have to speak if you don't want to. Okay.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm I'm opposed to it. I live over in Timberbrook, just right around the corner from it, in Bells Amusement Park as well, as I lived in Tulsa for many years. And the neighbors out there, it was horrible when Bells Amusement Park was there. But we're talking about that later. But anyway, I'm against that. The traffic's horrible. Going down 71st Street, it took us forever just to get here because the traffic was so heavy. I couldn't imagine the traffic it's going to bring with the new development and Bells Amusement Park, which would be like the fair. We bought this house. We lived there for 22 years, and we didn't want to move, and but anyway, if we will, but we don't want to, because we retired and kind of thought we were going to be living there for a long time, but I don't know. But to destroy, the wildlife and the area around it and the integrity of all the neighbors in the neighborhood, the noise level, the crime, the littering, I don't know. It just, I'm opposed to it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for having me.
It says Catherine Morton, but that also says Mrs. Jack. And, does not want to speak, but is in opposition. Sorry, I need to read all the way down. Laurel Sherwin also does not want to speak, but is in opposition. Same with Ludmilla. Oh, lovely lady in the very back. Also does not want to speak, but is in opposition. Yuri, thank you. Opposition, does not want to speak. Liliana Nichols is in opposition and does not want to speak. So, okay, thank you all.
I wanted to get some clarification on where, like, what streets are actually going through
Yeah, because it
to.
looks like all of them.
Yeah,
so-
I'm like seeing lines everywhere, so I can't figure out where.
So, for clarification, the gray roads, so the one there,
Mhm.
that way, all the way to the west.
When you
where
say gray, do you mean blue? I'm just, sorry.
Sorry, I'm gonna, for the public,
Why
I'm pointing
isn't
this
that
out to
on?
council.
We, for those of you, and we have a screen
Oh,
up here
gotcha.
that we can see, so that's why we
sorry.
look up.
Yeah.
Okay, I see the gray
Sure.
streets now. Sorry. Yes, sir. Okay.
So Mockingbird, which again runs north and south and east and west, is going to be a direct feeder into the
The
proposed
new, yeah.
plan,
Correct, so
as
That-
is a new stub street coming in next to the post office.
correct.
Okay,
So there's a stub there, right there, that's not in, but it is platted as part of Angus Acres 2. There's an existing stub platted.
it will remain closed.
No,
Okay.
that will open, and
Okay.
along with going north on Mockingbird Lane.
But there's a stub street at the end of Kilby Drive. That's not going
That
to
is
be
not
opened.
going through, nor is the other one that's showing just south of the word Sydney.
Sydney, okay.
Okay.
Those-
That will not
So
go
those
through.
were the-
nothing on that side, but where the duplexes are, none of that will.
We'll go through the neighborhood.
Correct. None of those will go through the neighborhood. That was we heard, and that's from the planning staff standpoint, and planning commission gave us direction to work with the applicant and say, there's got to be, having those higher density duplexes coming into onto Sydney Avenue is something that needs to be looked into. And so that's why, working with engineering construction, we discovered that a part of the widening of 23rd Street is that we purchased, condemned 2 homes there off of Sydney Avenue for the continuation to connect Sydney, and then all the way down to this parcel, so not to landlock it, is to provide access there, and that was done several years ago.
Okay.
And so
Okay,
that's
so it'll
why
kind of
it's-
curve.
Yeah, so it'll curve up and then
Okay.
connect onto 23rd.
Okay.
So that will be a brand new road that
Street.
does not
Yes.
connect at all to Angus Acres.
Correct.
above.
Correct.
So essentially, this new road and Sydney Avenue will come together and then connect onto 23rd Street,
Okay.
essentially.
So you'll turn onto, okay.
And then just to clarify, the duplexes, the concern about duplexes, people buy duplexes. They're going to build them and people will not be, initially, obviously, are not going to be, they won't have a leasing agent there,
Is
like an
that-
apartment complex.
They're duplexes, they're not, they're individual lots. It's not like the Nest or a proposed project called 55. Those are one lot, mini duplexes, single families underneath one ownership. That is not what is planned here,
Okay.
or what is being proposed as a part of this PUD.
We saw pictures of the houses, but we have not seen pictures of the duplex. Is there pictures of the duplexes available?
I do not have any pictures.
And how many square feet will the duplexes have?
I mean, they vary But yeah, I don't have a range.
Am I coming up?
Yeah.
Before a PUD, final PUD though, we will know what the duplexes are going to look like or have any identification with them.
Yeah, I mean, if needed, yes, we can provide that information.
It's helpful because we're
Yeah, because people have an idea of what is going to come in, and when they can see something, it makes it a lot easier. Same for us.
right. Well, yeah,
Sure.
because when you show your proposed, and I was curious, where are you also doing? Are you doing anything else in this area? Are you developing anything else in
Not in
the
Broken
Tulsa
Arrow.
area, but
No.
the Tulsa area that I could drive
Yes.
to look at?
So Owasso, Hawks Landing project, I mean, I
Okay.
don't have this information with me right now, but it's something I can definitely send to you.
Because sometimes it's handy to understand what the and I mean, frankly, we can't make a decision based on that, but it helps to understand.
Sure.
Um,
And that's kind of what we look at in the PUD as we know more about what's going on inside the PUD. That's a trade-off on our part, even to the point of the trees, you know what I mean, location and numbers of trees would know before, you know what I mean, look at the final PUD. Again, that's the trade-off. So I would like more information certainly before we conclude that. And I know you'll provide that before then.
Will there
Yep.
be any open spaces, park, whatever in Area C?
In Area C, yes. So you can see those pond areas in the southwest and southeast corner of Area C. So yeah, I mean, it'll all connect and be one community.
Okay. So, but will there be, because all I see is like wet areas, will there be like areas where there will be a park? Like,
Yeah.
is that what that,
So that the two southern ponds, that one on the east side,
Okay.
you can see kind of a small little amenity area on
Okay.
the corner of that one.
and none of these
It
areas
looks
will be
small from
gated?
this scale.
Right.
Yeah.
So none of these will be gated. Everything, all the areas will be open to each other.
Correct.
And I know a lot of times people think because it's going to be smaller homes or smaller lots, but I'm looking at 1,500, like this is 1,500 square foot home for almost, it's 280 that you guys are selling for. What's the,
Correct. So I'd say, I mean, from a price per square foot, one of these will be in the mid 150s a square foot. The Black Series will be in the mid 160s. So average price would be in the $350,000 range.
so not your
up to-
average starter homes? is
No,
what-
and well over $500,000.
I thank you.
Larry, I have a question of you, a follow-up question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
If I may,
Oh, go
Yes.
ahead.
real quick.
Go ahead.
Would you mind answering the question in regards to what was asked about Bells? Are you affiliated with Bells or anything like that?
Yeah, there's no affiliation.
Yes.
My question is going back to the traffic. You know, I know that some trees are going to come down, but within a PUD, we're going to require quite a few trees, especially in the green area and that.
And
but-
go ahead.
I had a follow-up to that too. That was a kind of a statement, and you can add to that. But to the north, and I'm not an engineer, and we're looking at the traffic engineering study that will come along later on. I just can't foresee that being a large point of ingress and egress without a light being put there. Is there any location where these streets are hitting 71st Street, where there's a street or shopping center point of ingress and egress that would accommodate a light at that point?
There is.
There's a light already, right?
Yeah, there's an existing light onto 33rd Street, which is a school.
Right.
And so there is currently a stub out or
Mhm.
cul-de-sac that's being shown there. And we can request the applicant look at that as an opportunity for connection. We typically do not like to have commercial access connecting into a residential area.
No, I'm talking about the residential areas where it's going out to the
Yeah.
north.
Okay, specifically the connection point to the north side, that's Camina Villa. And so it does align with an existing
Okay. That
road
was my
across the
question.
street.
I
My
knew the
fault.
one at the school, but see, none of these properties can dump through that, commercial property.
Yeah.
And there can be and there is a red light there. So
Yes.
they've already have one, but I wanted to make sure because I couldn't foresee an engineering report that didn't at least require a light. You know what I mean, from
And-
this point of ingress. to
And
the
we would
north.
work with Travis Small and our engineering team over there with engineering construction from the data that we get from the applicant and compute that into our current data analysis that we have on Kenosha as well to see what kind of impact that would have and any suggestions that would
Okay.
come from an engineering team.
Well, and that was why I asked the question about when that traffic study's done, we can determine,
Yes,
is a traffic control device
yes.
necessary there? When I say traffic control device, I mean, I know a stop sign technically, but I'm talking about a stoplight or some other type of device that can regulate the traffic going north and south and east and west.
And if I may make a suggestion is to put everyone's mind at ease, if council would like to make that as a requirement of the PUD, council can.
Well, I think it's necessary because this is,
I agree.
if we're
Understood.
going to dump, that's a terrible word, but I know, I just saw you grimace. But and I'm not sure where I've heard 3,000 cars, 1,000 cars. I don't see how mathematically that works, but it doesn't matter. If we're dumping an extra 100 cars, we're going to have a lot of traffic there where there's already a lot of traffic. So I'm very uncomfortable with approving a PUD that doesn't require that on this street.
Understood, and staff can take that as a direction then.
And so from my perspective, if we were to approve the PUD, it would be subject to a traffic study and the installation of any appropriate traffic control devices to accommodate the traffic study.
Understood. If that is just for staff standpoint, that is made as a motion, we
No, I
understand
understand that.
as well. In regards to trees, the way how the current zoning code is set up is that we require so much landscaping as a part of this development. Currently, that is not in this PUD controlled on the maturity of trees or things along those lines. If there is a percentage of maturity that would like to be kept as a part of this, that can be included as a part of this PUD as well, just to answer
Parks.
Parks. Sorry.
It's been here a while. It's been here a while.
Scott Eady.
Long day, Counselor. No. But, a 10% requirement of existing trees to be kept there along with meeting the requirement of the the additional landscaping requirements.
Well, and just like the traffic, situation, I think there needs to be a percentage. I'm not sure what that percentage should be, but
Okay.
just to make sure that there's a percentage in that.
Well, keeping that in mind as we are updating our zoning code, and as we move forward with that process, just something that we should be taking into consideration
Sure.
as part of the update.
One more question. Do you know, does the post office own that land that's connected to them to the south?
I do
That's
not know.
like it would
Behind
be
it.
just north of the Mockingbird Lane that's going through.
I can tell you in one moment.
Yeah, the one square, it's a little square.
And it's the one directly to the south.
Mm-hmm. I
think
mean,
that's
it
straight
might
from the
all be
church.
one area.
Yeah, there's a church that's currently existing on
Across the
Shelby
street.
Drive that's to the west.
Right. Okay, that's the
Just waiting
church.
for the
I live on
website.
the south side. I don't drive these roads very often, so I know.
You should get over to my side sometimes.
Let's see.
I actually used to live though on the other side of the turnpike. That's where I grew up. Just south of there.
I love technology when it works and hate it whenever it
I
doesn't.
bet they own that whole parcel. is
I'd be
what
happy to find
it
out
would
for
kinda
you,
make sense.
Counselor. and
Well, the only
provide you an
reason I
update.
asked is just like figuring out because if they own it, probably nothing else is happening there.
Would go there, yeah.
But if they don't, it's just a weird little area.
Again, my web interface isn't loading.
That's
Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
This is Eric Enyard again. Actually, the current owner of the property owns the land to the south of the post office and
Okay.
several lots that adjoin to our west. So our own ownership buffers our own this proposed development quite a bit.
Okay. I personally feel like we need, people might groan at this, but that we need more of the duplex type homes in our city, just because it is, I mean, I lived in a duplex growing up. That was one of the places I lived in, and it was very nice. And I mean, I understand sometimes the stigma that can come along with different types of ownership, but
People need different
I-
things.
not everyone can afford a 350,000 square, or $350,000 house. And so,
Well, and one of the, I know a lot of times it's frustrating because I ask a lot of questions and ask us to go through the process of what's going on, but a lot of that is to help you understand we're at the beginning of a process, not the end of a process. Many of the things that some of you have addressed as concerns, we have the same concerns. And so the process requires things to be done and allows us to add these things. So a traffic study, I mean, that's the first thing I saw coming on. We're abutting 71st, so that's something that should be part of this process. We have a duty as a council to balance every property owner's interest. And you would not want me coming in and saying, you have to do something different with your land any more than the person who owns the land next to you wants me to tell them they have to do something with their land. If it is within the comprehensive plan, and it is, I read the statutes. I'm very comfortable with the statutes. If it's within the comprehensive plan and it fits within the legal parameters of what is intended, then our ability to limit something becomes legally limited. So we have to look at what is the proper use. Is it within the comprehensive plan? Does it fit within the overall plan of the city? And if it is properly zoned or can be zoned within that comprehensive plan, we have to have other reasons to deny a request. So that's why we ask about traffic studies, hydrologic studies, which is the water on and off that comes off, drainage issues. Those are very important because that's what guides us on what we can and cannot limit or require of any development or any project. But as far as zoning, to deny a rezoning, there has to be substantial legitimate reasons beyond, because we're balancing people's land rights, yours and theirs. And everyone starts at the same place. And that's our duty, is to balance that. So that's why I ask a lot of questions, because I think it's important. We're at the very beginning of any process. And there are many PUDs in this town that never come to fruition because they get in and they realize that there's certain things that they can't do because of the stringent requirements that we require them to abide by. That may or may not help, but that's part of what's going in our heads as we're analyzing this proposal.
what is the buffer that's required on is it different for like the duplex area as opposed to the area C, like the buffer between the neighborhoods? Because I think people need to know that, there is that. Is it just a
line of buffer,
fence? Is just a fence will be there? Okay. And I was just reading, so the duplex, actually, the lot width is 70 feet. Obviously, because you're putting two things together.
Yeah.
So the lot widths are actually wider than, there'll be less of them as far as actual building.
Well, actually, your comment was well taken a while ago, and I agree with. I like the duplex. It's been a while. I don't remember even the last duplex zoning that we had, and there's a great need for it. That area D is actually a buffer area, and any place else in the city that's been multifamily apartment zoning. And I'm not opposed to apartment zoning. I like apartment zoning, and this is a good location for it. But it's even a great location for duplexes. And we just haven't had any come along in quite a while.
Yeah.
So I think for a quality community, I'd like to see duplexes being in, and maybe putting multifamily on the back burner just a little bit as a buffer.
Well, I even think about like families, like you could move your mom in to the other duplex next to you. I mean, multi-generational.
Actually, my parents did
living.
that. They bought a duplex and my brother lives in the one next to them. I think it was a devious plan to make them take care of them. I think one of the speakers said that there was nothing like this in Broken Arrow, and I can take you to half a dozen ones that are just like this that have either been done or are being planned.
Are they right next to R1 or agricultural?
In some places, yes. In fact, we saw an example the other day in the zoning meeting where we had large estate lots right next to literally R4s. We're not allowing that here. That's the point. That's why we're requiring in this proposal, and they've agreed as part of the PUD to do the R3 so that you don't have, I mean, I know that's still narrow in your mind, but that's much less than it could be. And that's been done before. So we are mindful of those things.
Something about the R4 that I learned is it's a new RS4 it's fairly new. And so there are subdivisions that if they were done now, they would be called RS4. But because of when they were done, they were RS3. I think next Rabbit Run next to my neighborhood is like that.
And then to the south as well. The
Yeah,
gated community
that's
to the
right.
south. Yes.
Yeah. And believe me, those did nothing but help our property values. So,
Does anybody ever speak on the property value and how it affects, if there's any studies, or is that just up to us to kind of research, or can you point us in a direction, or?
well, we can't we can't tell a developer we want you to do this and you have to sell your houses for this amount or above.
Oh,
So, yeah.
If there's any kind of research or any place to go to see how something like this would affect, somebody that just bought a house in our neighborhood for $250,000.
We can't
Zillow.
we can't legally consider that.
Yeah.
I mean, we just legally
It's not one of
can't.
them.
But what I can tell you is historically, diminishment in values is not very common.
Yeah.
It's just not. Once it fills out, what we've observed is just the opposite. The rising tide raises all boats. But we cannot legally make decisions based on the nature and type of house. We legally can't.
Anything?
I can't think of anything else.
You guys have anything? Okay.
I'll make a motion to, let's see. Sorry, I've got to look at the right language. I make a motion to approve PUD 238 BAZ 2099 as suggested by city staff, subject to the requirement that a minimum number of vegetation trees be incorporated and a requirement, as was referred to by Councilor Parks, and a requirement that a traffic study be completed.
For staff's clarification, can we ask on, as this would be the first time for the nature of those trees, 5%, 10%? We need a percentage so that way, because staff would not know where to go on.
And so,
Let's use it at 10%.
okay.
And just to maybe amend that just a second, I think you said, just for a record, I think you said 238 and it's 328.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, it's because I don't have my reading glasses on. I'm sorry.
Okay, and put that in the notes.
Then let me amend my motion that it would be subject to 10% required trees and subject to a traffic study. But I'm willing to make that motion as amended.
I'll second it if it comes up.
Oh, I forgot to hit the button. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I
One
made,
thing, guys, before you-
I wouldn't let them do that.
Just one last thing.
Where,
So page 149 of the comprehensive plan shows this area to be a proposed district park area. It shows it on two separate pictures in the comprehensive plan and the Broken Arrow comprehensive green framework. That's 149, page 149. It talks about for about 5 pages, it talks about natural land that can be converted into a nature park, and it specifically points to this area. Is that okay if I just put this to be on file with you guys?
Larry, do you want to address that real quick?
You've addressed that before,
Right.
but we'll address it again. I wouldn't let anybody else speak.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd be happy
We'll wrap
to.
it
Is
up
that
after
the comprehensive plan shows in the area, there should be a neighborhood park. And so it's just saying in the area. It's not specifically
Which
saying
will
this
be-
land or anything along those lines. Otherwise, we would be restricting the use of the land literally down to that use, which is not what the comprehensive plan about. Comprehensive plan is comprehensive, which means, within this area,
There should be.
there
Right.
should be a neighborhood park. And
Okay.
so there's.
And there will be
And there
based
will
on
be.
these plans.
In the future, yes.
Yes.
That could be an acquisition that the city makes, a donation that is made, anything along those lines.
Okay. Guys, we've already, thank you.
One question before we vote, the 10% thing, what am I voting on?
Oh, that's
10%
for
of trees?
keeping
Trees.
10% of trees.
Existing trees.
Oh,
Green
okay,
area.
okay.
Green area.
Okay.
The applicant is wanting to, do you guys, are you,
So that we know what to put into the PUD, could we get clarification on the size, condition, and the possibility of a replacement, say a 2-for-1 replacement if we couldn't meet that number?
of the trees?
Yes.
That's new, so.
Yeah, I mean, this is something the council hasn't really, again, we've been looking at as a part of our zoning code.
I
update.
realize that. I just wanted to make sure, this is a big PUD. I'd like
Yeah,
to make
we'd like
sure
to
it's
just
kind of
keep as much.
included. And historically, we've looked at 2-inch, you know what I mean?
2-inch caliber. is
2-inch caliber
typical.
trees.
Yeah, 2-inch caliber, typical, and I would say 2-for-1 can also be acceptable to staff as a part of that, because then we would have more
I
more
think
later growth.
the bottom line, the motion anticipates, expects, and wants to ensure as much of the 10% is what exists and is natural there. I understand that 10% may be 9.5 or 10.5. I get that. We want to get them as close as we can to that situation.
And to act as a buffer, is that, or are we just going for overall?
This is overall.
Trees? Okay.
Yeah,
So I'm Justin Morgan with Tanner Consulting. I'm the engineer that'll be designing this, and I'll be the one counting these trees. So this is a very big deal, like in my mind, because
Yeah.
you got to look at tree quality, the species of trees, the size of trees, where they're located. Are they salvageable? Are they not salvageable? We've been in this in other communities, and it becomes a really messy situation on how we count that. I mean, just to send a surveyor out there and count how many trees
Yeah.
on 200 acres, you're talking about many, many thousands of dollars that they've got to send somebody out there, measure every tree, locate where it is, so that we can design utilities around it. It's a real slippery slope on what we're getting into here. So that's why Eric's asking for clarification, because it can really get messy.
And again,
Trying to figure that out.
the motion intends that the staff be given enough common sense to
Okay.
address those concerns.
And I don't think we're asking that trees be salvaged unless, if they're around the pond, they're around places that there's going to be a green area anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think that we'd try to see that those were salvaged. But in the newer areas, we just want to make sure there's a certain percentage of trees installed new. You know
So
what I mean?
you're saying installed, not preserved.
I'm saying
necessarily.
install. I never said preserve. I said
okay.
that
I like to preserve.
the preserve would be around that area. So if you want to have part of that, count that in the 10% that you can preserve. But I realize you can't move streets
Okay,
and
and
utility
that's what we're
lines.
more familiar with, like a requirement that says every lot has to plant a new tree that's 2 inches or larger in caliber. And then on the replacement, if we preserve a mature tree, that counts as 2 of the trees we would have planted. That's how
Right.
we're more accustomed to it. But I was hearing preserving 10% of what's out there,
That's what I was hearing
which
too.
is,
Now,
which is really dangerous to get into.
Yeah.
Right.
You can
Right.
take all the Bradford pears.
Yeah,
And that's a good example. There could be,
yeah. If you
Right.
plant a Bradford pear, I'll never.
Yeah.
Here,
They will plant themselves.
so we could. agree
we're
to
getting
easily say
getting
every
way in the
lot.
weeds here.
Yeah,
I'm
Yeah.
trying to address concerns of your neighbors
Mhm.
and allow for this to proceed. My motion anticipates some level of common sense application between the city staff and you all.
Mhm.
If we can keep if we can keep a native tree fabulous, or not native, but an existing tree fabulous. But the point is, there is a certain expectation that this be a treed area. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so the
Yeah,
10%
absolutely.
number.
And if I may, the way that staff will move forward with this is within the governance of the existing zoning code that is in place. That is what we would apply for this direction.
Correct.
And I will work directly with the applicant and the applicant's consultant in that interpretation and provide any update that's needed at that time.
Does
And
the
we
motion,
can, we can identify this in the new zoning ordinance. You know what I mean?
Yes,
And
we
reference
will,
this.
yes, for
does
clarification.
the motion that's pending clear to staff?
It is clear to staff
And we're going to get to see all this again to vote on it.
on the
So
plat.
once it's,
Yes. Okay. We have a motion and second. Roll call?
If I can, Mayor, when you're finished voting, I want to make a comment. Can I go back to what Mr. Curtis talked about, is there are certain activities that can take place, and as the council knows, there was a similar development that was approved, it still has to come back, but there's some site work that was being done, and we got phone calls. So would you just reiterate what
Yep.
could happen at this point in terms of any
Yeah.
type of construction?
Just for clarification for everyone to know is that, went through the whole process is that, and as stated a little earlier, is that there are permits that any applicant can ask without having to have a submittal of engineering plans to move forward. And that is a earth change permit, which allows the preparation of the site to grade it to where it's meeting the requirements and to provide stormwater protection associated with that. And a stormwater permit as well to show the impact that if they do have they do an earth change permit, is that the stormwater permit is all the protections that have to be in place in order for them to move forward with that. But they cannot start doing any type of installation of the streets, stormwater, any of the utilities or anything along those lines until after those engineering plans have been approved, the conditional final plat has been for this council.
Thank you. All right, item 9B, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of and authorization to execute Resolution 1438, a resolution authorizing the acceptance of Elon Park Master Plan. Matt?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. I'm Matt Hendren, Parks and Recreation Director. It is my pleasure to present to you the finalized master plan for Elon Park. So just a little bit of background on how we got to where we are today, which I've been waiting for since July 1st, 2019 when I got here. This is one thing I was really excited about. In 2018, there was $3 million that was approved by voters in the general obligation bond for the development of a Southwest Community Park. What you see before you is the finalized master plan for that park. So there was council-appointed advisory committee that met for around a year to come up with this plan along with city staff and our consultants. And so our number one focus when developing this park was making sure that we built an inclusive park that would welcome everybody, regardless of your ability or age, to have a place to come and recreate. Some of the highlights for this park are the community center and an auditorium that's shown on the west side of the park. There's a ropes course up in the northwest corner. There is what's labeled a challenger field, which is an adaptive baseball field over on the east side. Really some big green open spaces. There's a disc golf course. There's a lot of walking trails. There's really something for everybody. I will say that the overall master plan, as it's shown in today's dollars, is around $56 million. And as I just said, we have 3 for now. So we've got our first phase, which I believe I have a slide for the first phase. There it is. So it's showing about 80 parking spots, kind of a tree grove area for gathering. There's a restroom shown, and then a really large inclusive playground as part of phase 1. As far as how quickly will we get to phase 1, we're hopeful to have an agreement brought before you 2 weeks from tonight for the design. That will take around 6 months.
So the best estimate that I can give you right now as far as when construction will start will be sometime around fall of 2022. So I will be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions?
Well,
I'm just
I-
excited.
I mean, I know, I want to thank the council members that served on the committee as well as the residents. I just want to make sure we get good direction from the council because we do have something after paying the architect. We put $3 million in one of the years of the bond. And so actually we're going to be able to make some nice improvements. I would like for Matt to put together a plan and presentation to show you what's being done because we laid something out there that was $30 to $50 million. And we've got this great expectation in everybody's mind.
Right.
And what's going to come is a parking lot and a bunch of really nice improvements. But what they don't know is in the meantime, we're going to begin the planning for the next bond package that's going to have whatever council decides is going to be in there for the rest of the park.
Yeah.
So I think good communication is important. And so that's why I really want to bring this next phase back to you all at the right time to make sure you're comfortable with what's being proposed.
Well, and I think that's consistent with what we've been discussing all along. If you attended the public meeting at the elementary school,
Mhm.
that's what was said. That tonight, what we're approving is the overall master plan, but secondarily, the initial goal was to get the playground, sufficient parking, and a nice amenity, the tree grove and things, so that we may be able to do a food truck type thing or something
Corridor,
and
yeah.
have that available. But this is just the beginning.
Correct.
And this is what we have funding for now. But I think there's going to be a long discussion and a good one. And I know Councilor Gillespie and I will be pushing this because we're very excited about this. But there's a big push to get as much done as we can on the next bond issue and any alternative funding that can come up to make this happen as quickly as possible. So, yeah, I think anyone who's been interested in this, that's been the message. And I appreciate you reiterating it because I think that step one is going to look anemic relative to the overall goal, but it'll still be something a whole lot nicer than probably we have anywhere else as far as the playground and so forth.
Absolutely.
Well, we've created our own problem because of the expectations
Yeah.
that we've set for the citizens. And I've been reading social media comments and people are ecstatic about what's going to happen out there. And I just want to temper those expectations to make them actually go, great, wins the vote.
And I think I know Deborah's on, Mayor Wimpy is on social media a lot as I am,
bit.
and also Counselor Ford. I mean, and so I think we've done a pretty good job of when people start commenting of saying, okay, this is what phase one is like, and really making sure that they are educated. And I've noticed that there's other people in the community now that will correct people and say, no, this is what's going to happen first. And so I think that's a really good thing.
Yeah.
That communication is kind of snowballing so that the expectation is what it is for right now.
Well, the phase one master plan, I mean, it's just that it's a master plan. There's nothing
Right.
specific about that. So as we start working with the consultant and moving forward over the next few months, we'll have a much better idea of what exactly we can afford with the remaining funding from that 2008 bond sale. And we can bring that back and show that to you all so that there's clear representation of what we're doing with that $3 million and what's going to be there until there's an additional funding source, until we figure that out.
Well, having a fencing around this playground, I think is going to be huge. Having a 2-year-old grandson, there's a lot of reasons to have fencing around a playground, but that is one of them because he disappears. You put him down and I'm like, what happened? Where did he go? And I know Lisa goes through the same thing with her granddaughter.
We're looking
So
forward to those
that's
fences.
going to be a really nice
With real
thing.
thin.
I had that problem with a 13-year-old.
Well, I'm mentioning this project tomorrow at our State of the City update because I think it has the opportunity to transform that part of town like Nienhouse did
Mhm.
on the north side of our community. And believe me, it's definitely needed. And so I just know our community, they get really excited. And I just want to make sure that I'm speaking the right message based on what council wants to do and that $3 million is going to be a great addition. I mean, you think about what that's going to actually do, and the people are going to plan it for a few years. I'm just really excited about this because this is something we've heard so much about since I got here about needing something in the southwest part of our city. So,
And I did mention it at the PTA council today, so they were pretty excited about it. But I did say,
They need to
this
vote.
is not coming
Yeah.
next year.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 1438, authorizing acceptance of the Elon Park Master Plan.
Second? We have a motion and a second. Roll call. Whoop, whoop. Motion.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 9C, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of the reappointment of, well, Jennifer's going to come on down. I think we're going to do all three of these at the same time, correct?
There's 4.
Or four? Yes, you're right.
Is that okay, Trevor? Like we did.
yes, it is.
Okay.
Good evening, guys. I am going to read the fact sheet on all of them, and then we can vote on them individually, I believe is what Trevor said. In accordance with the bylaws of the Broken Arrow Economic Development Corporation, the article states that there's a board of directors for the corporation. It's 13 members, 3 of which are representative of the Broken Arrow City Council, the Broken Arrow Board of Education, and the Broken Arrow Chamber of Commerce Executive Committee. Each entity has the discretion to select its representative and or their designee to set the term of service provided by the representative, complies with the conflict of interest and neutrality provisions set forth in the BAEDC bylaws. Of the 13 directors, no 2 shall be affiliated with the same employer or members of the same immediate family. There's 10 appointed members that should be appointed in the following manner. There's a nominating committee that shall be appointed by the chairman of the board, made up of 5 members, 3 of which shall be representatives of the city of Broken Arrow, the Broken Arrow Public Schools, and the Broken Arrow Chamber of Commerce in August. The nominations selected by the nominating committee will be presented to the EDC board approval by September. And on this, I just want to put a disclaimer. I did also include that this occurred, the nominating committee met this year in October 27th of 2021 and discussed the board slate and then presented it to the EDC Board of Directors November 12th, 2021. So just differed a little bit from the bylaws. The governing board shall ratify each nominee. Approved names will be submitted to the Broken Arrow City Council, the Broken Arrow Public Schools Board of Education, and the Broken Arrow Chamber of Commerce for ratification before the end of the year. Also not on this fact sheet, the Broken Arrow Board of Education voted yesterday and approved the nominations, and the Chamber of Commerce meets tomorrow to discuss the nominations. Each appointed director may cast 1 vote. The city manager, BAPS superintendent, chamber, EDC president, economic development manager for the city, and the vice president of economic development for the Broken Arrow Chamber of Commerce shall serve as non-voting members. All directors must be residents of the city of Broken Arrow. However, exception may be made for up to 2 directors to be non-residents, provided they have a business and/or significant interest in the economic growth of Broken Arrow. So item, and Darla Heller is also here with the EDC to answer any questions on any of these nominees. So item C is for the reappointment of Davis Robson for term beginning January 1st, 2022, expiring December 31st, 2024. Davis Robson is the son of Joe Robson, developer Forest Ridge. Davis is currently responsible for all new developments and is working with Joe on future expansion plans for Forest Ridge. Mr. Robson sits on the HBA Board of Directors and is the secretary of the Broken Arrow Economic Development Corporation. Through these entities, he volunteers his time to help grow the home building industry and expand Broken Arrow through economic development.
If I can, real quick, Mayor, I just want to let you know that I served on these search committee or the selection committee for finding the recommendations are before you, and we changed the bylaws to where now all the entities do directly versus having the city manager and the superintendent of schools and chamber CEO presenting those. And I can tell you, we had some outstanding folks. And just to speed this along, I fully recommend all 4 of the folks, the reappointment and the appointment. I mean, the quality of the people that we considered are really good. And we got some great people that have served. And we just the tradition of actually getting really good people to want to serve to help us with our economic development administration.
Do you want me to go do the bios of all the rest of them right now, or just?
I mean, if
Good.
61F has another, but I can make the motion to approve
approve. Okay.
Davis's reappointment.
Perfect.
We have a motion and second. Roll call. Approved.
Item D is for the appointment of Tara Branson Thomas for a term beginning January 1st, 2022 and expiring December 31st, 2024. Tara Branson Thomas is Secretary of the Nation of Commerce of the Muskogee Nation. She has extensive experience in Indian policy and legislative history, particularly in the areas of self-governance and self-determination. She has a wealth of knowledge regarding tribal governments, nonprofit organizations, federal grant writing and administration, strategic planning, and program implementation. Her professional experiences include national tribal nonprofit management, federal compacting and negotiations, federal and tribal legislative development, federal grant management, and grassroots organizing. She has a Bachelor's of Arts degree in Native American Studies from Dartmouth College and a Master's of Public Policy from Georgetown University.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Secretary Branson Thomas she's the real deal. She's
Yeah.
sharp.
She is. Motion passes.
Item E is for the consideration, discussion, and approval of the appointment of Jason Hudson for a period beginning January 1st, 2022 and expiring December 31st, 2024. Jason Hudson is CEO of R.L. Hudson and Company, which was founded in 1980 by Rick Hudson. The company began as a distributor of rubber O-ring seals and primarily served Oklahoma's booming oil industry. R.L. Hudson recognized the growing demand for technically sophisticated plastic and rubber parts. In 2017, Jason led a team to launch a new in-house plastic injection molding and tooling manufacturing, which is their fastest growing product line.
Make a motion to approve. Have a motion and second. Roll call.
Interesting
Motion
side
passes.
note, both Joe Robson and Rick Hudson were founding members of the original EDC board. And now their sons are both appointed to serve.
Yeah.
And then item F is for the consideration and approval of appointment of Brandy Moore. She's filling a currently vacant seat on the board. So her term would be beginning January 1st, 2022 and expire December 31st, 2023. So it'd be a 2-year term. Brandy Moore is a general manager for Alpha Laval's U.S. Air business, responsible for heat exchanger cells, manufacturing and service in Broken Arrow and Buffalo, New York. She was appointed to that position in December 2020. Previously, she held various global roles at Schneider Electric and Gerber Technology in engineering, sales, marketing, and management, focused on growing these businesses by leveraging technologies and creating great customer experiences. She holds a degree in industrial distribution from Texas A&M University.
We have a motion. We have a motion and second. Okay, thank you. There are no preview ordinances.
I just want to say how much fun that the Christmas parade was and what a good job our city crew
Yes.
did. The gingerbread men were actually the hit of
Yeah, they were.
they were of the parade, but the float was amazing. So thank you for all your hard work. It was great fun.
Oh,
We have a picture.
hi.
Yay.
I had a picture taken. I asked for a
Yes.
picture take this morning just to show all those folks that had something to do with it.
I
Wow.
love it. And
That's
Thank you,
awesome.
Lisa.
I did
Yeah,
notice
I
the
love it.
gingerbread
Yeah,
houses
it's-
now in the
it's-
farmer's market. So
I noticed that too.
Oh,
yeah, you can go.
that's
It's right by the
cool.
sleighs. So,
Yeah.
which were the other thing that they created, which was amazing. So,
Yeah.
This really was a big hit. I just kind of frowned though, start thinking about the next city council elections. And I thought, man, I hope that gingerbread man don't run. Everybody was screaming, gingerbread man,
But they were
Nobody
also
was
saying, "I want to eat you."
Yeah.
So, but isn't
Nobody
that
was
what the
saying
gingerbread
Councilman
man
Park,
does? He
so-
runs.
Nobody said Councilman Park, so I hope he don't run. She, whichever the case
Yeah.
may be.
No, we had one of each.
Yeah. So,
Cute.
Well, I had
But
one of
yes,
the
thank
council
you.
members ask me, Michael, when I talked to you about this, is everybody okay with this? And so I had one of the employees talk to council members about this has become something they just absolutely love doing. And so I want all the council members to know is that's the kind of camaraderie and esprit de corps that we have with our employees. All I said was, hey, let's make this happen. And they took it from there. And so I couldn't have more gratitude for Ryan and all the folks that actually were in that pictures and everybody else that participated.
And
I
above
can't-
and beyond
Yes.
anything. Yeah.
I can't wait to see what they do for Rooster Days. And
Yeah.
since I'm announcing, Yeah, and since I'm announcing the parade, I'm going to have fun with that.
I mean, if I had done it, it would have been a bunch of glitter and some hay bales. So, so I'm really glad they took us and ran with it. So,
Yes.
well, I'm going to read a couple things.
All right.
So, and sticking with my theme of the Constitution. So last time I read the First and Second Amendments. So I'm going to read the Third and Fourth Amendments. The Third Amendment to the U.S. Constitution reads, "No soldier shall in time of peace be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law." And then the Fourth Amendment, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue, but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. And I wanted to read the actual words because I think words mean something. And, I feel that when we make decisions about things, we always need to think about the Constitution. But, the third, this isn't a direct, and of course, this is, now I'm straying onto my opinion, so take it for what it's worth, but it isn't direct. But I always challenge people to, I think if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And so I try to listen to other people that are a lot smarter than me all the time. And but it's not a direct thing, but the CDC's recent shielding approach, and it's not really recent. It's if you look at the CDC, CDC.com, and just look up shielding approach, it's actually their camps that and it's not really for now, but it's something that they put in there that are for pandemic quarantine, utilizing private homes without homeowner consent and things like that. So those are things that we need to look at in the future, that it could violate the Third Amendment. Because it seems like that amendment maybe doesn't have any constitutional relevance, at the present time. But, we're just like one little litigated thing away from it having something that has to do with today. So, because right now the federal government isn't likely to ask people to house soldiers in their homes, right? So hope we can all say yes to that. And then the Fourth Amendment, that's what guarantees our health records are private, that no other person, group, business, or government can require you to give up your personal private information without warrant. So, and the secure in persons, think about those words, secure in your person, that actually could apply to recent things like mandates, for instance. So, those are my 2 cents about the Third and Fourth Amendment. But I encourage everyone listening to this and watching it to read those for yourself and decide what they mean to you.
I was just going to remind everyone that ice skating rink is open. There's Saturday is the New Orleans Square Arts and Crafts Festival.
Yes.
So that'll be a fun event. And then also the 11th, the Life Demonstration Church is doing a live nativity, which should be kind of cool. And then on the 18th at 1907's store, they're going to do one as well. So just right off of Fort Worth and Main Street, there'll be a live nativity scene that you guys can go out and see. So kind of fun. Anybody else? Nope. Remarks and updates by city manager.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Good evening. Really good discussion this evening. I appreciate all the feedback and comments you had for staff with regard to the project that was considered by council. I just have one item, and it's really just briefly is tomorrow is a pretty big day for me, and I think for really all of us, because I get a chance to share with the chamber membership how we've done this year and how I think things are going with our community. And the theme that I picked this year was our city motto, which is where opportunity lives. And my goal is somehow, hopefully I'll do it, is to tie in what has been accomplished specifically the last 6 years to how we're going to go forward as a community and continue to make this a great place to live, work, and play, or maintain the high quality of life that our citizens and businesses have come to expect, which in a free society, as the Vice Mayor mentioned, is not as easy to do. But we seem to be doing a very good job, and I cannot wait to share all the good news with the chamber membership and the public on how we're doing both financially, operationally, economically, and I hope that the staff has worked hard to help me, and I hope that the membership and the citizens will appreciate all the hard work that you're doing on their behalf and providing the support that the administration needs to go out to implement the policies that you make and to provide the best services to all of our citizens and businesses. So I look forward to tomorrow. That's all.
So do we. Thank you. We do have an executive session, so
Make a motion to take a brief recess to enter Beta and Bama.
Second?
we have a motion and second. Roll call.
Ford,
Yes.
Udi,
Yes.
Parks,
Yes.
Gillespie,
Yes.
Wimpy.
Yes. Call the Municipal Authority meeting to order. Roll call.
Ford,
Here.
Udi,
Here.
Parks,
Here.
Gillespie,
Here.
Wimpy.
Here. Are there any items to be removed? Second, roll call. Items or public hearings, appeals, presentation, recognitions, and awards. There are none. There is no general authority business. Remarks from governing bodies. Remarks and updates from the city manager.
No, ma'am.
There's no executive session.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Roll call. Call the Broken Arrow Economic Development Authority.
Counselor Ford.
Here.
Oh, so
Oh,
sorry.
I- Oh, I clicked it, but it didn't go through. There we go. Oh, I didn't vote. Sorry. I
Lisa.
voted out.
Call the Broken Arrow Economic Development Authority meeting to order. Roll call.
Ford,
Here.
Udi,
Here.
Parks,
Here.
Gillespie,
Here.
Wimpy.
Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda?
Okay.
Move to approve.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call. There's no presentations, general authority business, remarks from governing bodies, remarks from city manager,
None, ma'am.
no executive session.
Make a motion to adjourn. Second. Motion to make.
We have several motions and several seconds. Roll call.
We'll get there.
Yes. Motion passes. We're adjourned there. Is there a motion to, or we're back in regular session, our regular council meeting, but we need to take a brief recess.
Make a motion to take a brief recess to clear the room for executive session.
Second?
Ford,
Yes.
Udi,
Yes.
Parks,
Yes.
Gillespie,
Yes.
Wimpy.
Yes. Yeah, I couldn't look at you at that point. It was like,
You got-